This is Podcast Central, Week 1. Happy holidays.
And remember that Podcast Central is your one-stop shop for staying up to date on all things podcasting. Every week we dive into the latest episodes, hottest trends, and biggest stories in the new media era. This week's episode has us focused on mysterious flying objects, conspiracy theories, scandal, and interplanetary exploration. Don't miss out and hit subscribe and join us for your weekly dose of podcast updates.
Coming to you live from the Comedy Mothership, a brand new episode of Kill Tony. Give it up for Tony. Let's go!
On the 657th episode of Kill Tony, Tony Hinchcliffe had two special guests on, one of which attempted to recreate Adam Ray's success with his own character as the health czar and a drunken appearance from Ari Shaffir. Overall, it was an average event at best.
What are you going to do about fentanyl, buddy? I'm really worried about it.
Nah, it's not a big deal. It's overblown.
Sick. I'm going to party. I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much.
You're not going to hang out, Ari?
Oh, I got shit to do today.
What? Today? It's 10 p.m., Ari.
Fuck.
This week on the Lex Fridman podcast, he had Adam Frank, who is an astrophysicist studying star systems and the search for extraterrestrial life and alien civilizations. If you want to listen to a conversation on how humans are currently scanning for extraterrestrial life, give this podcast a listen.
You don't ask how long do they last, but instead ask what's the probability that there have been any civilizations at all, no matter how long they lasted. I'm not asking whether they exist now or not. I'm just asking in general about probabilities to make a technological civilization anywhere and at any time in the history of the universe. And that we were able to constrain. And so what we found was basically that there have been 10 billion trillion habitable zone planets in the universe. And what that means is those are 10 billion trillion experiments that have been run. And the only way that we're the only time that this is, this whole process from, abiogenesis to a civilization has occurred is if every one of those experiments failed, right? So therefore you could put a probability, we called it the pessimism line, right? We don't really know what nature sets for the probability of making intelligent civilizations, right? But we could set a limit using this. We could say, look, if the probability per habitable zone planet is less than 10 to the minus 22, 1 in 10 billion trillion, then yeah, we're alone. If it's anywhere larger than that, then we're not the first. It's happened somewhere else. And to me, that was mind-blowing. It doesn't tell me there's anybody nearby. The galaxy could be sterile. It just told me that, unless nature's really it has some bias against civilizations, we're not the first time this has happened. This has happened elsewhere over the course of cosmic history.
This past week, Theo Von had Timothée Chalamet on, who is an award-winning actor known for his roles in movies like Dune, Wonka, The Beautiful Boy, and more. His new movie, The Complete Unknown, where he plays Bob Dylan, hits theaters on Christmas Day. Timothée Chalamet joins Theo Von to talk about transforming into Bob Dylan in his new movie. In addition, what his life was like growing up in New York City before the fame, and how he goes about choosing which movies he get involved with now.
In America or around the world.
Oh, yeah. One of them was My Neighborhood growing up, dude. I remember our property tax was $8 one year. My mom paid in cash, dude, right out of her purse. I was like, where do we live at?
Wait, who'd she give it to?
The guy that came by.
Was it a legit guy, you think?
He looked pretty legit. He had all of his buttons on his head.
He had a hoodie that said government?
He had a couple of them, yeah.
She just gave him $8. Oh, man.
This week on Flagrant, they had 50 Cent on, discussing what's going on with Diddy, unpacking the Jay-Z allegations, and breaking down what's happening with Drake, Kendrick, and why Drake is suing. They'll get onto all of that and much more on this week's episode of Flagrant with 50 Cent.
Hey, right away, huh? He said like he had a little corner in Far Rock, you know? We was in high school, had a couple corners, and just one day, few dudes from Jamaica was on the corner, and it's like, it's like,
The Tim Dillon Show has arrived in Texas, being recorded in Joe Rogan's studio.
Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Do you want to sit here?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
It's your show, though.
Well, but that's not what we do. On YouTube, we say the Joe Rogan Experience, and people click.
Ah.
Don't sue.
Good move. I won't sue.
Don't sue.
Come on.
Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan discuss the realities of fame, and then Tim Dillon asked this question.
Do your kids know how well known you are, or do you think they don't?
It would be amazing if they didn't.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure
that'd be pretty amazing.
But they know.
Yeah, they know.
Okay.
They're super aware. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a freak when I go places.
And people just come up to you, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Most people are real nice.
Right.
So it's not a real problem. It's just like, most people are just being nice, and
Right.
that's fine. And most people are super respectful when you're with your family.
Of
They don't
course.
try to take too much of your time.
Right.
You know, it's what comes with the job.
Not my people.
Furthermore, they discuss Elon Musk's position on the drone situation around the world.
Answer.
Do
So
you think
I can't
Elon
freak out.
knows?
If he knows, he's not saying shit.
Right.
That's very odd that he hasn't commented on the drones.
He's not saying anything.
Not a peep publicly.
And I think because, like, if it is something super serious with national security, he can't.
He can't.
Finally, Podcast of the Week goes to the Joe Rogan Experience, where Duncan Trussell and Joe Rogan dressed themselves up as elves and talked about the universe. Give it a listen.
And then simulating that reality and traveling into it as whoever you want to be. I mean, it's pure hedonism. You know, it's like right now we think of hedonism as fucking a great meal, making some money, nice car, red wine. But future versions of hedonism could really just be like, I just want to be a dinosaur for 50 years.
If you want a thought-provoking podcast when on a long road trip, this podcast expands on the human mind, the universe, and what it really means to be human.
If it's just like you and me and everyone in the green room and we have to survive in the wilderness or something like that, it's dangerous if someone is doing things that keep them sick, because we have to carry them. You know what I mean? We have to carry them through the fucking wilderness, and that means we might die. That lowers our survival chances. So the idea is there really isn't time. You don't want to enable people who are hurting themselves.
To stay up to date on all the most interesting conversations in the world, subscribe to Podcast Central. Thank you for listening.
Theoretically, you're basically moving into the future, I guess. Then couldn't you take pictures of Earth in the past? If you could take pictures of Earth in the past, why couldn't you recreate them with this new technology? There's your time machine.